Today on the CTV News at 5, some Medicine Hat evacuees are back in their own homes tonight. Plus, how the community of Nanton is helping out, and what flooding has done to Medicine Hat sports facilities.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. Floodwater continues to drop and even dry up in parts of southern Alberta, but for many the cleanup work is only beginning. Some families that live west of Fort Macleod are going through their homes and possessions, salvaging what they can and throwing out the rest. Terry Vogt reports.
Mud, damaged equipment, soggy carpet and drywall. Kim Tilsley has filled 6 trailers with the aftermath of last Friday's flood.
If it was clean water, it wouldn't be half bad. But it's really silty, muddy stuff, gumbo.
Down the road and closer to the Old Man River, David and Don Little's yard looks like there's a garage sale going on. Most of their possessions drying out in the sun.
You ready to make an offer on anything?
Both the Littles and Tilsleys took refuge from rising floodwaters on the second floor of their homes. They live just west of Highway 2. This is what the area looks like today. This is what it was like 4 days ago. A friend even paddled out in a kayak to make sure the Littles were okay. Dawn took this picture from their upstairs bedroom.
I looked out 2 of my bedroom windows and all I could see was water. And then when I looked out the other window, I saw my patio way over there. And that's when I lost it. I couldn't stop laughing because all the flowers on it were just all great.
Inside their home, things aren't so great. The water came up to their windowsills, ruining their cupboards and floors. They also lost farm equipment and most of the possessions that were being stored in the Quonset out back. And neither family has insurance because they live in what's considered to be a floodplain, a designation that came after the Alberta government built the Old Man River Dam. For residents living along the river, the highway was one of the big problems. It acted like a dam, holding up the water and flooding the area behind me.
This is our camping ground.
But these families aren't complaining. They know they're a lot better off than many other Albertans, those who've lost homes, pets, or even loved ones.
We're survivors. We'll get by.
Yeah, we're preppers.
Yeah. Not doomsday preppers, just preppers.
Just preppers.
Terry Vogt, CTV News, near Fort Macleod.
Early estimates for all of the flood damage in Alberta are pegged somewhere between $3 and $5 billion. Now, the first evacuated group of residents in Medicine Hat were able to return home today. Inspectors are going in with residents in the Harlow area to make sure the homes are safe. The majority of the town was spared from flooding. Part of that is because water levels didn't get as high as expected. The worst danger may be over, but some residents are still being told they can't go home. The city is being very cautious before allowing anyone to return.
So we want to make sure there's no looters, so the police is there, they're escorting people, they have to identify themselves, they have to show the keys of their house and whatever, and then we inspect the house, make sure that there's no debris. Alberta Health is with us, so we'll make sure that the house is not contaminated and they're not going to be sick from going back in.
While states of emergency have been canceled for many southern Alberta communities, one has just been declared for an East Kootenay area. Water is rising in Wassel Lake, just north of Cranbrook. The lake is already creeping into yards and ditches. The situation is likely going to get worse. The rising water is directly due to last week's flooding situation in the East Kootenay. The Kootenay River overspilled its banks in the area with peak water levels over the weekend. It's greatly increased the amount of groundwater that's seeping into the lake. Experts say it takes several days after the river peaks for the lake to reach its high water mark. Preparations are being made for further flooding.
We are still expecting to see rises for probably up to the next 7 to 10 days. And what the forecasters are telling us for tonight is we could expect to see 10 to 12 inch rise in the lake level in the next 24 hours. So water is still on the rise here, and that's why we've declared the state of local emergency.
Some good news for the area, though. The Kootenays have been approved for BC's Disaster Financial Assistance Program. Applications will be accepted for help restoring private property and public infrastructure affected by the massive flooding. And in Nanton, the community spirit of rural Albertans is helping displaced High River residents cope with being forced out of their homes. That's members of the Cayley Hutterite Colony serenading evacuees at the local arena. Around the clock, women from the colony are cooking and serving fresh food to High River residents who were forced from their homes. The hockey rink has turned into a clothing distribution center, and upstairs, volunteers are sorting through tons of donated clothing and toys.
For a person that basically walked into this town virtually on the edge of being in shock, I don't think we could have been handled or directed better. These folks have just been completely beyond anything that I could have ever expected.
Still not clear when evacuated High River residents will be able to return home. About 300 people refuse to leave. Coming up at 5:30, we'll tell you why that's caused a lot of frustration, both within other residents and with emergency personnel. Bring out the lawn chairs and the sunglasses. Dory Rossiter, we are in for a great weekend.
Yeah, we really are. An area of high pressure is moving into southern Alberta, a little later for southeastern BC. And you just mentioned the situation just north of Cranbrook. They are due in that area for potential thunderstorms tonight and again tomorrow, but not as severe as what has been, on the forecast menu before. But area of high pressure is going to be digging in for all the areas. We'll have a really nice weekend for southeastern BC and for southern Alberta. We'll talk about it in a couple of minutes.
Okay, thank you, Dory. Well, it's been a year and a half since a soldier from Lethbridge was deployed to Afghanistan, and now, once again, the flag of the Canadian Armed Forces has been raised at City Hall. It's in support of Master Bombardier Will Bernard, an Army reservist from Lethbridge who will be deployed for 9 months to Kabul. He's leaving this Saturday and is part of a task force challenged with closing all military operations in Afghanistan.
I've been in the forces for about 12 years now. It's been something I've always wanted to do. I decided that when the Olympics came along, I would do that, and now it's my chance to go to Afghanistan.
As of March 2014, there will be no more Canadian soldiers serving in that region. Well, they went in as recruits, and they are now ready to serve and protect Lethbridge. 13 men and 1 woman earned their badges today with the Lethbridge Fire Department. It's the largest class to graduate in 34 years. Their training started 10 weeks ago with 29 candidates, but only 14 finished. All recruits must be paramedics as well. So it's actually a 3 to 5 year process for them to get here.
After working with them for 10 weeks, I am very proud of all the men and the women that have come on. And I think Lethbridge is going to be very fortunate to have these individuals in our ranks helping out on a daily basis.
It's exciting. I grew up in Lethbridge, so it's exciting to be able to serve the community. 10 weeks are finally done, so it's nice to get on the floor and get going.
Some of those new grads will be reporting to the fire hall as early as tomorrow morning for work. 43-year-old Lethbridge man is charged with impaired driving in connection to a fatal crash last night. The accident happened when a westbound semi-truck rear-ended an SUV around 8 o'clock on Highway 3 just west of Scenic Drive in Lethbridge. Its occupants, a man and a woman, both 86 years old, were treated at the scene by EMS, but then later that evening, the man complained of soreness. He was taken to Raymond Hospital where he died the next day. Ernest Theodore Berger will be appearing in court on August the 6th. And the Calgary Zoo has been destroyed by the flooding that we've seen across the province, but now we're learning just how terrifying that the actual situation was at the height of the flooding. This morning, zoo officials painted a picture of chaos unfolding while the zoo was taking in water. It took 2 days to move the giraffes to higher ground. The animals don't do well in the cold, and until they were moved, were in freezing chest-level water. At least 1 giraffe is now sick and may not survive. The water rose so high in the hippo enclosure, they actually swam out of their pen and were swimming freely in the public part of the building. A zoo staff member risked his own life swimming into the enclosure to block a broken window so the hippos couldn't get out. Well, even though Calgary Stampede officials are focused on saving this year's edition of the Stampede, the greatest outdoor show on earth is also making an effort to help other Albertans crippled by floodwaters. Come hell or high water will be the caption on T-shirts being sold by the Stampede. Over the past 2 days, millions of gallons of water have been pumped out of the parking lots and rodeo infield. Work inside the Stampede buildings has been going around the clock. Proceeds from sales of the T-shirts will be donated to the Canadian Red Cross Alberta Floods Fund. And to the markets now, where the Toronto Stock Exchange might soon have some competition. Several major financial companies are planning to set up a new stock market they hope will provide some competition.